Chloe, you want to wrap this one up?
Sure. Well, I think the gentleman's comments actually just there in the green T-shirt were really interesting about the way that parties can encourage other parties to shift and change and develop new views. So I think that's something really interesting for the future, and I'm sure that a multi-party democracy will carry on doing that, and I very much hope it does, BNP or no BNP. But the main thing I would say, the very serious main thing I would say, is that what you can get with a Conservative government at the general election next year is a Green and a Liberal and a progressive alternative to having to go for a small party that you might think mightn't be able to form a full government. And I say that because we've got a blend of energy policies. I say that because we've got a low-carbon economy policy paper right out there for you to read, and I'll very happily send it to anyone who'd like to email me if you haven't already found it. We've also, they're very strongly opposing ID cards, and we were the only party to be speaking at our recent party conference about the marginal tax rate as it affects a single mum who faces 96%. All of those things that mean that we are the Green and Liberal and progressive alternative to the next, at the next election, to this rather tired Labour government.
Okay, thank you very much. Adrian, if you want to come back very briefly, as you are the Green Party.
I'm going to make an announcement for the first time tonight, which is that we're not expecting to form the next government after the general election in the UK. But what we are hoping to do for the first time ever is to get Greens into Parliament. And because of the way the voting system works, we need, in some parts of the country where we're particularly strong, like Norwich, for us to finish first in order to get a few Green voices in there to put forward our policies on environmental and other issues. So if, as Phil says, there should be Greens in Parliament, residents in Norwich South or residents in other strong parts of the country for us like Brighton cannot leave it to others. They've got to do it themselves. We can get Greens elected, and whilst I agree with the arguments about PR in principle, we can win under first past the post, because we've done that in local elections. We can do it in the general election as well.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got to move on now to our final question. So this comes from Greg Cooper.
Do you agree with the use of open primaries in selecting parliamentary candidates?
Open primary selecting parliamentary candidates. Be brief if you would. Chloe, we'll start with you. Actually, no, we can start again. We'll start with Adrian. We'll go very quickly down this way, and if you can be very brief, that would be absolutely fabulous. Adrian?
My honest answer is that I'm undecided, and I think it's an interesting experiment that's being done particularly by the Conservatives at the moment, and was, in fact, I think, for London Mayor as well. So I'll be interested to see how it goes. I'm sort of tempted by the political philosophy behind it of more grassroots participation, but wondered about how it might possibly be undermined by supporters of other parties coming in order to disrupt the process, and whether it is actually best that the candidates are chosen by the parties themselves. So I'm undecided.
Okay, thank you very much. Chloe?
I think they are a good thing. I wouldn't necessarily use them in all cases. I think it should be a local choice as to what method you use to select your candidate within sort of party guidelines. I don't know if I'm unique on the panel in that I've actually been through an open primary, not for Norwich North 18 months ago, but for in an instance before that. And it was an interesting experience. Some people from outside lobby groups came into it, some didn't, but actually overall it was a genuine experience where people had their chance to make their views known. So I think overall it's a good thing.
Thank you very much. And Phil?
I'm going through a selection process at the moment, and you have to use your own money to do that, quite rightly. There are several hundred members of the Labour Party in Norwich North, and I have to get round them and send them my literature and so on, and it's quite expensive to send material to several hundred people. If I had to do that for the 70,000 people in Norwich North, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would not be able to run. I have no savings or money I could use for that. And I think the real risk of this is it ends up making Parliament a plaything for the rich. It's what happens in America. The people with the most money are able to put together the best campaigns and to get round and run campaigns in open primaries. I think that's my great worry. My second very quick worry about this is that actually what you end up with is sort of, to be honest, the worthy local people, and they may be very, very good people. You're the best known and best loved GP in the area and so on. And I'm not quite sure people will know on a policy basis what people are voting for if everyone is elected independently, rather than because they've gone through a party process, because they actually have strong Labour or Conservative views and ideals.
Excellent. Okay, let's go back to you. In a nutshell, do you think we should have open primaries? If you could be very brief in just a couple of words, because we're running out of time.
I think that's, like in a philosophical sense, they're a good thing. And if you look at the case of, I don't know if anyone reads him, but the blogger Ian Dale recently went through a open primary in Bracknell. And my main concern was that his celebrity status would help him to win. But he didn't, in fact, win. It was a man who was very in touch with the issues who won. And that's
okay, we've got to put it there, I'm afraid. Got to put it there. We've run out of time. Thank you very much. Sorry, we ran out of time. Thank you very much to our panel. Please put your hands together. Ran short time, I'm afraid. Completely ran out of time. Thank you to our panel. Thank you to our audience. And until next time, on next week's panel, on next show's panel even, We have James Brokenshire, the Shadow Home Office Minister. We have Anna Johnson, Home Secretary. And we have the Director of Liberty, Shami Chakrabarti. Until next time, good night.